Okay, moving on with 15.1, the algebra of functions. This time we have something a little different here. We got two different functions here, f of x and g of x. And this time they give us an input value, which we're going to put into these functions. And then we're going to add the two output values we get after we put in -7. Okay? And on this one, our input value is -1. So we have a different input value here on these different problems. So what we want to think about here is we're going to take this input value and we're going to put it into both of the functions. Okay? So sometimes you can do this in your head. I'm going to kind of talk through it, but you want to be a little bit careful. When we put in -7 into the f function, we get -7 squared plus 6. And then when we put the -7 into the g function, we get -7 plus 8. Now, what do we want to do with those two values? Well, it tells us we want to add those, so I'm going to kind of overemphasize that plus sign. So what I get here is 54. And then what I get here is 15. And then what I'm going to do with those two values is I'm going to add those together and end up with 69. And that's my solution to f plus g of -7. Okay? So now doing the input value of -1, notice the g function is first here. We have -1 plus 8. Then we have our minus sign from the instructions here. And then we want to put -1 into the f function, which we have -1 squared plus 6. Computation here gets us 9. Computation here gets us 7. So we have -7. And 9 minus 7 is 2. Okay, so using the input value and then following the instructions of the function notation. Okay. Here we're going to put f, for f we're going to put in -5, so we have -5 squared plus 6. Then we're going to multiply whatever that value is. We're going to put -5 into the g function, which is blue. We have -5 plus 8. Compute our two values here. We get 31 and 13. And 31 times 13, you can multiply that longhand or on your calculator or in your head. We get 403. Okay. And then this last one here, we're going to put -3 into the f function, so we get -3 squared plus 6 over -3 into the g function. We have -3 plus 8. On the top we get, or the numerator, we get 15. In the denominator, we get 11. And what you'll find out is that 15th 11s cannot be reduced. So be a little careful with your signs. Hopefully the colors help a little bit, but slightly different because we have input values here. Yep. Thanks.